Hey everyone, I'm here with the mayor of Cleveland, Georgia, Josh Turner. Thank you very much, Josh, for coming to sit down with me.
Absolutely. Appreciate the invitation.
Yes, sir. So I just want to go over a few things today. Some major topics I want to hit on is kind of roadways with Cleveland, more factories, career jobs, and so that's some of the major topics I want to hit on. Kind of to start off, I want to know what it was like kind of campaigning to become mayor. What was that process like?
Yeah, so it was pretty interesting actually. My predecessor resigned during his first term. It was a special election. It was kind of interesting and a little bit abnormal. We don't normally have special elections. Their elections are normally scheduled, every 2 years on a rotation for the council and mayor. But I was actually on a cruise with my family over Christmas break, and um, saw on social media one of the news articles that Mayor Ash had announced his resignation, and talking to my wife, she said maybe you should run for mayor, and I kind of laughed it off a little bit. Like, oh yeah, that's funny. Well, when we got home, I was like, I've been thinking about that a good bit, praying about it, and I think I'm going to do it. And we talked about it as a family and decided we would give it a go. So I qualified in January. The election was scheduled for March of 2020. And if you remember back to March of 2020, this little thing called COVID happened, right? So 9 days before the election, Secretary of State announced that the election would be postponed statewide, all elections that were scheduled for that March, and it was moved to July. So being running a campaign through those from January to March, kind of raise money, went out and talked to folks, and
Right.
then when it's moved from March until July, you kind of got to start all over again, right? People aren't going to remember those types of things, 3 or 6 months out. So
Right.
we did that. We regrouped, got a new campaign plan. The door to door and physical contact with voters wasn't an option, so you just had to pivot to phone calls and
Right.
postcards and writing letters and social media and those types of things.
Mhm.
But I was elected by a 36 vote margin. It was one of the highest turnouts in Cleveland, or actually the highest turnout in Cleveland's history.
Really?
Um, at,
That's cool.
yeah, at that time, they because of the pandemic, they mailed out the option for all voters to receive a um, absentee ballot by mail. So a lot of folks voted by mail during that time, and there's just a lot of interest in doing so. So
Right.
that was the campaigning for office. It was fun. I enjoyed it, especially the first 3 months, not the last 3 months necessarily, but
Yeah.
the first 3 months was a lot of fun, and getting to talk to people and hear about their concerns for our community, and
Right.
share my vision for it.
Right. What was kind of your mission that you led with, to get people to attract to you and, want you to be mayor of the city?
Yeah. So this year marks 20 years since I graduated from White County High School, and I looked back at the number of classmates that I had that graduated with me, and a lot of them don't live here,
Right.
and that's not the case for um, some of them want to live here and they can't. There's just not opportunity. So one of the things I wanted to do was make sure to foster a business climate in our community, in our city, that allowed um, economic growth and allowed businesses to flourish and provide opportunities for our young people if they choose to want to stay here after they graduate from high school. It was
Right.
personal for me. At the time I ran for office, I had 2 kids. I have three now, but
Awesome.
I want them to have an opportunity if they want to live in Cleveland after they choose their career paths. I want to make sure that they have the opportunities to do that.
Right. And you just reminded me of my third point was what steps do you have in place to retain youth in Cleveland? Um, like I said, there's very little, apartment buildings or townhomes or
Mm-hmm.
affordable living for to retain youth unless they stay at their parents' home. Also, we're lacking many career jobs without a degree in this city, which I tend to realize. Very not many factories, not many things that someone without a degree can go into and make a fair living. So that was some of the points I wanted to touch on, and you reminded me of the third one was retaining youth. So
Let's talk about housing first, if we can,
Right.
the affordable housing aspect. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of interest in housing in Cleveland right now. I had our staff pull some numbers before I came in today. Um, we have several different types of housing going on. I want to touch on each one of them. First, traditional style housing. We have 26 home construction sites under plan review right now.
Awesome.
We've just finished 7 that have been newly completed, and 9 are under construction now. So that's just traditional single family homes.
Right.
When you look at townhome developments, we just completed 22 under construction.
Heck yeah.
Um, 17 of those are targeted towards um, 55 plus community.
Okay.
Um, 39 are still planned and under plan review and have been approved. As far as apartments, there are 44 apartment units. That's not developments. That's individual housing units that are planned right now at various
Okay.
parts within the city. And under rezoning requests right now, there are 2 projects. One will bring 85 um, planned housing units for affordable housing, starting at the $250,000 price point, and
Awesome.
another project will bring about 14 projects in close proximity to the downtown square. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
So I can definitely tell this is something you had in mind, and you're in the same headspace as I was coming into this,
right,
that we're lacking in those aspects.
right.
So that's something you're working towards to grow.
Absolutely. And one thing that the city's doing right now, we're actually updating our zoning ordinance to allow for different types of developments. So one thing that I've been a proponent of from the very beginning is mixed use development,
Right.
where you can have retail, residential, and dining and those types of establishments in the same
Yes.
facility. That's kind of, and that goes into the retaining the youth as well. A
Hmm.
lot of youth like to be able to go down and um, you walk to the place that they want
Yeah.
to eat or grab a coffee or have a drink and walk back home. And that's the type of environment that I think is going to be important for us to retain youth. Um, so I think that's a good start.
Yes, that's a great start, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what would retain the youth:
Mm,
affordable living, and then a downtown space that attracts camaraderie
right.
for sure.
One thing I want to point out: a lot of folks, um, it seems that they've forgotten their civics lessons and that they don't understand the role of government and the role of business.
Right.
And the role of government is to provide an environment and a business climate where the businesses can succeed.
Correct.
It's up to private enterprise and private business to provide those avenues, and that's what we want to do in Cleveland. So,
Awesome. I love to hear that.
yeah.
Now to touch on, career wise, are you in the works with any investors or corporations to come to Cleveland and maybe more factory jobs that people can build a career with?
Yeah, we've had several inquiries, and we're working with those folks to try to come up with a plan to put that in place. But one of the things that we have to think about in our community, in our small town feel, is
Right.
we don't want large corporations or large factories to change the dynamic of our community.
I agree.
We're very strongly um, agricultural community in the
Yeah,
county, and
that's
our
true.
natural resources are very strong here. This beautiful mountain in our background, and we don't want to we want to be good stewards of the environment.
Yep.
So I think the key is fostering that business climate that attracts smaller employers, small businesses that can keep the economy growing.
I like that.
The one thing to consider, the inland port, which is being constructed in North Hall County, I think near the Lula area,
Okay.
is going to bring in a lot of industry in the area. So, and we are not in a position to go out and recruit with large factories, 500 plus employers or those types
Right.
of things. However, there's going to be a residual overflow into our community, I feel like, for ancillary providers to the inland port and to the
Right.
factories that will be in the Hall County area. And I think that's what we want, or at least that's what I want as a
Yeah,
community. Um, I don't want 129 or Highway 115 to become a Highway 365 or 985.
right.
Having access to those roads is great, and I'm all for that. But I don't think that's what we want for our community. We want to
I
protect
agree.
the small town feel and
Mm.
protect our natural resources.
I love that, and that's a great answer because that's true. We live in a beautiful town, and we don't want to take that away. But with that being said, since commute will be happening, do you have any works to make commute easier? Maybe 4-lane roads going to major highways like 400 or 365.
Yeah. So the state routes that run through downtown Cleveland, Main Street, 129 and 115, there are state routes, Highway 75 as well, and we work with DOT to make sure that they're aware of the traffic concerns
Right.
in Cleveland, which the Appalachian Parkways really help with traffic in downtown.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it hasn't detracted from the business climate downtown. So
Right.
you still see an active downtown square. So we don't really have any plans from a city perspective to increase those streets. That is a state function,
Mhm.
but we do want to make sure that we have the opportunity to keep our local roads and our streets paved and safe.
Awesome. Those are great answers. I'm on the same field as you. I don't want to see Cleveland turn into a Gainesville
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. I don't want to see Cleveland turn into a Buford. But growing up here in this being my hometown, of course I'd like to see more.
Yeah, you want to see
More.
opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity in a growing town. Or if a town isn't growing, it's dying.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that.
Right.
You don't want empty shopping spaces or. But this town, we have the opportunity to leverage tourism. We have so many people visiting with Helen, with Mount Yona, with hiking trails. So we're a little different than some counties.
Sure.
Do you have any plans on leveraging the tourism that comes through? And does that go with small businesses and bringing people towards them?
Yeah. So one thing with tourism, tourists have to have a place to stay, right?
Right,
So we have in the last 2 years we started allowing short-term rentals in the city of Cleveland. Within the last 2 years, we've started to allow short-term rentals within the city of Cleveland. Homeowners can apply to be a part of that program, and as long as they meet the requirements set forth in the ordinance, then they can do that.
right,
We have a couple. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 on the books right now, but a lot of folks don't know about that, and I think it will continue to grow as short-term rentals gain in popularity as well. As far as hotels and other lodging, we've had some interest in that, and that's something that I've been pursuing pretty heavily in the city as everyone in the city, um, city council and our staff. It's been a high priority to try to find investors that want to provide lodging within the city of Cleveland.
right. We've touched on a lot of things
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on already. And I love your mindset. I think you're the right person for this job.
Well, thank you.
So, with that being said, you have said, you're working hard and you're getting a lot of things done. Um, at the end of your term, where would you like to see Cleveland at? What would you like to see accomplished and kind of growing towards?
Yeah. So I want to see new businesses come. I feel like our economic growth is pretty steady right now. If you look at, there's a couple different ways you can look at that. One of them being the tax digest for residential assessments and commercial assessments.
Right,
Had about a 10% growth last year in
right,
assessments. Another thing you can look at is sales tax, and we had about a little over 4% growth from the previous year in sales tax. So both of those are good indicators of what's happened economically. I think if we continue on that path, uh, we'll be in a good place to be able to provide opportunities to business owners um, and investors that want to provide the type of climate that we want to see for our youth and for our future.
right,
We don't have to be a Dahlonega or a
right,
Clarksville or a Blairsville or a Gainesville. We're Cleveland, and we need to be Cleveland. We need to be our own, set our own destiny when it comes to what we want the future to be like. And for me, that's maintaining our small town charm, at the same time providing opportunities for entertainment and activity and protecting our natural resources.
I love that. That's awesome. With that being said, great goals. What's some of the things holding Cleveland back? What's some of the things that's stopping Cleveland from growing as it is? What's some of y'all's biggest issues at the moment?
Yeah, so I would call them biggest challenges,
Biggest
if you
challenges?
will. I mean, it's always funding for projects. Inflation is very high right now. So
Yes.
if you're looking at paving roads or laying pipes for water or sewer or whatever the case may be, everything is going up and it's costly.
Right.
So one thing, as far as infrastructure, we are in the process of uh, building a new wastewater treatment facility, which is important for any type of economic growth in a community. In White County, there's only two sewer systems. That's the city of Helen and the city of Cleveland. So it's important that the city have the infrastructure and the capacity that we need to meet the demands for future growth in that regard. I'm very proud of our city. We were just awarded $18 million in federal funds to help assist in the construction of that project. We don't know what the total cost is going to be yet. The project's still out for bid, so we're waiting to have those come back, but we're anticipated somewhere in the mid 20s most likely. So finding funding for those types of things is important. And then also to have the capacity for the sewer to go someplace and be treated, but also the infrastructure to get the sewer from the house and the business
Right.
to that wastewater plant is very costly. Um, Another thing is with water, we're continually pursuing new freshwater wells to provide clean and safe drinking water for our citizens and for our businesses. All those things are important. Other infrastructure, we have access to great fiber in the city of Cleveland. We have high-speed internet connections, natural gas, all the
Right.
things that's needed for development. And you can't leave out our local school system. We have a great school system here in White County, and that's one
Yes.
thing that people look at as well. So
Yep.
all those things are important. As far as public safety, that's another thing that's important. We just announced construction of a new fire station. It's going to be across from Freedom Park.
Awesome.
So demolition of the current structure on that property is taking place now, and construction will begin in a few weeks on the new building.
It's a
So
great location.
it is. It's easy access to all the residents in Cleveland and even the areas in White County that the city fire department services. Also, a part of that structure, the fire station will be public restrooms for Freedom Park
Um,
in the downtown area. So that'll it's been something that's been needed for a long time, and we're
right.
happy that we're able to finally provide that.
Awesome. With me being here my whole life, Cleveland has grown the most in the past few years. I've noticed with the completion of the bypass,
Mm-hmm.
bringing Aldi onto it, and I feel like that the bypass is going to bring some more major businesses right there.
Sure.
Do you see people interested in building onto the bypass?
Yeah. So the bypass itself, most of it people don't understand, but most of it is actually in the county and
Really?
under county services. So we have great partnership with our county government, and so most likely for businesses to thrive there or to want to come in, they're probably going to look at wanting to annex into the city of Cleveland,
Right.
and that's something that we've been in discussions with the county of what that would look like and
Okay.
what kind of partnership we can form. And with partnerships, that's really critical to any type of growth or solving problems. We have a great relationship with the Board of Commissioners and the entire county government. We have a great relationship with Helen, with our water authority in White County, as well as between our city services there. And I think that's important. If you can't work together for the common goal, um, that's a problem. And I'm very proud of the relationships that we have in place in the partnerships.
Awesome. That's amazing. Josh, you can end it off however you would like. Whatever you would like to say to the community, whatever you think they would want to hear from you, that'd be great.
Well, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to share some of the things we have going on with the city of Cleveland. Um, city of Cleveland's growing. It's an exciting time to be in the city, to live in the city, to enjoy the things that are in downtown. And I think it's uh, exciting time for anybody, really.
Yeah. Throw out some ideas. I know I see the community a lot talk about certain things. I know they would love a movie theater, maybe a comedy center, all around event space that we can host events in. More restaurants is a need. They always talk about more restaurants. And so I would really love to see the downtown space grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, let's go back to that civics lesson, right?
Right.
It's the responsibility of business owners, investors, and developers in the free enterprise system to
Yeah.
build those and to maintain them. It's up to the local government to provide the opportunity. We feel like that we're making great strides in doing that. A lot of progress in the last 2 years. Our city staff, um, I can't come and talk about the great things going on in Cleveland without bragging on them. They work so hard, public servants, um, doing great work
Awesome.
for our citizens, and really appreciate all that they do.
Yeah. And yeah, it's up to the business owners to come in and create the
Right.
vision, but it's also good to have great people in place to help make that happen.
Right.
And I think you're a great one.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Yep. Thanks for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. You touched everything really fast, really well. I mean, you were planned. I loved it. This was a great interview.
It's easy to talk about the place that I love, City.
Exactly. And I really appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Josh.
you. Thank you.